Welcome back to the shop, everybody. So we've recently got a couple of questions about light kits and how to do a light kit on your truck. And what is the easiest way to do a light kit? Well, hopefully we can answer a lot of those questions, or if you've come to watch this video because you want to build your own light kit, then you're in the right place. Both of these trucks have custom LED light kits on them, as well as the Jeep Wrangler has a store-bought or a factory or pre-made light kit installed on it. The pre-made kit that's already installed on this truck is the headlights, the amber front lights, the two lights in the cab are shining down on the interior, the blue ones there, and then some red ones out back. Now this is neat because we can alternate through different flash modes, as you see here. Let's see. More flashes, that flashes the rear lights, and then we can have them all strobe. So that's all good and dandy. If you wanted to pay, I think I paid about $8 on eBay for that kit. It wires in very simply underneath the truck, and we'll give you a close-up of this here in a minute. So there's that wiring system that's on there, as well as a factory or a regular old 12-volt system that runs these two front bumper lights, as well as two 5mm red LED lights in the rear bumper that are right here, those two lights. So the Jeep has a bunch of lights on it. It did take a little bit of time to get it wired up and get it set right, whereas the Wraith only has one system on it. It has one 12-volt, come here Wraith, one 12-volt system. We have two lights in the rear, a red LED bar on the back, and then on the front we have a couple of 5mm lights. In a previous video, I unboxed and showed you all what was included in the axial LED light bucket set, and that's where I got these lights from, as well as some of the lights that are on the Jeep. And also, to do the lights on the Jeep body, I want to thank Dinky RC for their JK head and tail kit. That worked out very well to get the tail lights installed on the rear of the truck, as well as the headlight buckets on the front. And we'll give you a close-up of that in a little bit. Both of the systems on these trucks are very easy to do, very easy to set up if you have basic wiring knowledge. Really, they didn't take much time at all. All you really need is a little bit of solder, a soldering iron, and a little bit of wire and some patience. So with that being said, let's show you what the light kit on the Wraith looks like, because by far it is the simplest one I have done yet. Our other trucks that feature custom lighting, as you've seen some custom lighting on the Max Stone that we had, you've seen custom lighting on the Deadbolt, as well as our trailers. Our trailers have custom lighting on them as well, and I can show you those in a minute when we hook them up to the Jeep. I have a little trailer over there hanging on the wall, I'll show you. So, as you can see, when I took the body off, I have two more lights underneath the body. I need to figure out how to get holes in the body to get those lights coming through. So both of these lights, all the lights on the Wraith are 12 volt. And what I mean by that is the amount of voltage it takes to run these lights. Yes, the 5mm white LEDs don't normally run on 12 volts, and they all have resistors installed to drop that voltage down from 12. The white LEDs typically will run between 3 and 4 volts. However, I run 3 S-LiPos in my truck, and what I'll show you in a little bit is a converter, a DC to DC converter. Here's one still in the packaging, and I'll open it up, but I wanted to show you what it looked like on the truck. So, starting with our battery connection back here in the rear, you all saw how I did the installation on the Castle Creations Sidewinder SV3 tent scale ESC. Well, on that ESC, I went ahead and installed a Jst Plug. That's what these little wires are here. And that Jst Plug is way up inside the body, but if you don't know what a Jst is, this is it. It's just a small male and female plug to where then you have bare leads that you can solder on whatever you wish. Pretty simple, right? So there's a Jst plug, and this kit does have a Jst plug installed. So one end went to the battery connection, the Dean's right here, and the other end I went ahead and soldered into this DC to DC converter. I can leave a link to this DC to DC converter down below, so be sure to check that out. It is on Amazon. You can get about 8 of them, I think, or 10 of them for, I don't know, 8 to 10 bucks. Don't quote me on that. Check the link. The prices change all the time, and I'm sure you can find a cheaper seller than the link that I'm going to post, or that is posted down below. So that DC to DC converter rests right underneath the truck. It was zip tied in place for the longest time. However, it has since come loose, and there it is, the DC to DC converter. So my input wires from the Jst Plug are right here on the inside, okay, or inside, get it? Then my output, I have 2 that are also on that same plug, and both of those wires go to a Castle Creations BEC. I thought it was easier to wire in the BEC on the Jst Plug, and if you don't know what a BEC is, I encourage you to use the search function up at the top of the screen and search Castle Creations BEC. Very, very much needed on this truck with these giant 2.2 tires, and to give a little bit more power to our servo, it's really helped out. We also discussed a BEC in one of our recent videos where we went over the dump truck and installing the actuator on the dump truck, but that's another story. So our input came in from the battery right there, and then it went out and it goes into our BEC. And the only reason why I did that was to make it simpler for me, so that way I didn't have a bunch of wires up on my ESC plug, or my battery plug off of the ESC. Now my output looks like a whole big giant wire mess, and that's because it is. Pretty much every light on the front, all 4 of these, I've chained or rat tail spliced together and soldered onto the out positive and the out negative. Now this converter can take, I think, 5 volts input and make it into a 30 volt output, which is crazy. I'm not going to do that tonight. Instead, we're going to open this container up if I can find a suitable object to open it with. Okay, so the DC to DC converter, closer look here. As I was saying earlier, we have our inputs here on the left, just a couple of solder points. We have screw mounting holes there and there on either side, and then our outputs. And what you want to do is on your input, you want to have this whole thing hooked up, but no LEDs to it. Just have your input, your power coming in, because what you're going to do is you're going to turn this itty bitty brass screw right there. And what that brass screw does is it adjusts the power coming in or the power going out, I'm sorry. The power coming in is going to stay the same. So because I run, like I said earlier, I run 3S LiPo batteries. There's an arrow showing which way it's going to be flowing. Because I run 3S LiPos, I went ahead and set this with a 3S LiPo plugged up here, and then I set my output to 12 volts, which is just phenomenal if you ask me. It's very easy to set up. All you need is a multimeter. You don't have to get an expensive one. I have a fairly nice Fluke meter, but you can go to Harbor Freight, Amazon, eBay, I mean anywhere that has a decent display and easy to read DC or AC or both, really, because you can use it on your home electronics, you can use it on the house, car, whatever you need to. So output set at 12 volts, and that is what is running the Wraith. That's what runs all 4 of my front lights. That's what runs my custom LED light bar in the rear, as well as the 2 5mm down below. The LED light bar is made from some just LED strip light that you can buy on eBay as well. It comes in a roll, a 5-meter roll, and I believe I paid $16 for that. So it's fairly inexpensive as well. I encourage you to go check that out. This is waterproof, and believe it or not, I could have cut it at 3 LEDs right in the center. This is 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's a little hard to see on camera, and I apologize. But I can cut it down the center, solder it on however I want to. You have instant or very easily done underlighting, cab lighting. Obviously I made this into a red LED tail light of sorts. So that's the Wraith, and that's how we soldered all that in. The LEDs I used look like these. They're pre-wired, pre-soldered, and all that jazz. And yes, you can buy these that are not soldered. And if you look very closely, you can see a bump right there on the positive side, kind of where it has that X-102. That is the resistor that's in there. And yes, like I said, you can buy these that are not wired, and that's perfectly fine. I bought some, but I figured it was easier to have somebody else solder them for me than me to do it myself. So there's the Wraith, and like I said earlier, the Jeep has two systems on it. One being the system that is pre-bought or store-bought or pre-wired, however you want to call it. And pretty much every LED has plugged into this little board. And that little board is what controls the rest of the truck. I've put a Jst plug on here. Again, JSTs are very inexpensive, very easy to install. So if this is the route that you want to go, I actually have the voltage running into a DC to DC converter. I've had this on 3 different trucks so far, and it hasn't failed me yet. It's been a great little converter. It's been damp from water and mud. It's been dusty conditions. It's actually gotten water on it from when I hose the trucks off. And then this little guy down here is a small BEC, very, very cheap, inexpensive BEC, but he puts out 5 volts. So that's what I wanted, because this system is very limited on the voltage you can run. It does not run on 12 volts, it runs on 5 volts. And so because it runs on 5 volts and because none of the LEDs have resistors in them, I had to run it on a smaller BEC. But the DC to DC converter runs everything else on the truck. It runs these 2 red 5mm LEDs. I have 2 more red 5mm LEDs in the rear of the body, as well as my 2 white LEDs up front. And it also runs all my trailers, because when I built the trailers, I went ahead and added another Jst plug. You guessed it, that's right. Jst plug here on the rear. So if I grab a trailer for you, excuse me, sorry about that. You can see on my trailer, we set it up pretty much the exact same way as wiring the truck, but we did this in series. So we have positive coming in, negative, into a positive, out to a negative, into a positive, and back out and all the way around. Makes for a very, very clean wiring setup. And then now all I gotta do is plug in my open the top up there, plug in my Jst plugs, and we have trailer lights. There. If I could plug it in all the way. And there we go. Well, foot. Must have some dirt down in the plug coming off of the Jeep. There. So we see red taillights and amber front side markers right there. So this is my little excursion trailer. It has wires just like a real truck and trailer would. So that makes it very helpful. It makes it, gives it some more realism. Instead of, I do have a front box to put on here. It's not on here right now. And yes, I could run a 9-volt battery and a switch in there and then wire the trailer up. But when it's running off of the Jeep electronics already, and I don't see it drawing any power, I can't tell the difference in the way the truck runs with the lights on or the lights off. Because like I said, I can just disconnect this Jst plug and then we shut off all the lights to the body of the truck. We leave the chassis lights on because they're hardwired, just like the Wraith is at all times. So whenever I plug in the battery, regardless of if I have the lights plugged in or not, these lights and the Wraith lights will be running. Sorry you can't see the Wraith in the camera. There. Maybe? No? Yeah, you can see the Wraith a little bit. So that about does it for us here at the shop today, guys. If you have any questions about DIY RC light kits or just, I don't know, RC lighting in general, feel free to leave us a comment down below. Give us a thumbs up. That means a lot to us. We're a young channel, so we're trying to make it in the RC world along with a bajillion others of us. So if you like what we do here, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, so that way you can see what we're doing. We are on Facebook and Instagram. If you want to stay up to date on our projects and what we're getting into, check out Instagram. I tend to update it a little bit more than I do on Facebook, but we're more than happy to have you swing by on Facebook as well. On Instagram, we are at the BrothersRC, and Facebook, if you just go to Facebook and search BrothersRC, will come up that way as well. So guys, like I said, any questions, comments, concerns, praise, hallelujahs, money, you can send us money. We take free donations, seriously. And I don't think we can make them tax deductible. But anyway, guys, thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Bye now.